Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our Warrior Words of Wisdom series. I'm happy today to have Daniel Schmidt with us. He's a 2015 alum from Tech, and he is actually going to talk to us about all the different roles you can do as an engineer while you're not just tunneled into mechanical or industrial manufacturing. There's different roles that you can take on. He's in a different role right now. He's a production database engineer at Trailberg. And so we're excited to hear from him and see what he has to say about that. Welcome, Daniel.
Hey. So do you want me just to kind of go from start to beginning, or?
Yeah. First of all, what'd you do? Where'd you go for your internship?
Well, I applied to DePuy and a bunch of different biomedical companies. I thought that'd be very valuable experience. So just kind of winging it, because there wasn't really, at the time, no one had applied or made it into one of the big biomedical companies, like for a co-op or an internship.
Okay.
So I just was like, well, I'll just try it. And I ended up getting a job at R&D, research and development for testing. So that was, I was pretty excited to do that. I did, however, because, it's hard to have a full-time co-op position and go to school. So I actually sacrificed a semester and I guess you can say I dropped out, but I didn't go to school for a semester so I could work full-time as a co-op.
Cool.
So that's kind of like the pros and cons. So that's why I would have graduated in, I think, 2014, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's what it would have been. But instead, I had to graduate with the class, I guess the class below me, because I did skip a semester, so I was a semester behind. But I still did it in 4 years, I guess. So yeah, I did R&D. That was a lot of fun. I did research and development for hips and knees. Basically, I would go in and run tests on like just large testing machines. Basically wear testing on the knees and hips. I worked in the knees more than I did the hips, but I did a little bit of both. And then what comes with that, there's like a lot of test data, Excel sheets. You kind of, yeah, I really liked that job. That was pretty fun. The only thing that was like, since I was a co-op, I went back to school, and when I graduated, they let me co-op one last semester because I think co-oping there was 3 terms.
Oh,
so
okay.
They allowed me to co-op after I graduated, which isn't the norm because usually if you're co-oping, you're still in school. But they let me finish that out. And then at that point, I had to start thinking about what I want to do because I already technically graduated and I was in a co-op. So I talked to them. They put me in a contractor spot. So contractors, I wasn't working for DePuy. I was working for another company that placed me in DePuy. Okay. But basically, I listened to my DePuy bosses. I still work for them. So what happened there was I did that for a couple of years, maybe about 2 years. And then I realized I should probably try to get a salary job because this one was like hourly and they renew your contract every year. DePuy doesn't have a problem with keeping the people. Sometimes if you do a contract job, you do your job for so many years or for a year and then they release you and bring someone else in. But the training was so much for R&D that they just keep you on. But I was looking for a job in that department, and that department happens to retain their employees pretty well. A lot of them have been there for many years. It's a fun department. Like, it's very fun. Okay. So I decided I had to get out and go to a salary position. At that point, I just started applying to anything engineering to see who would catch it. And actually, I applied on LinkedIn, actually, and I randomly got a phone call.
Yay, LinkedIn.
So I randomly got a phone call, and I didn't even know, honestly, I didn't even know who was calling me because I applied to so many. I was just like, oh, I applied to you guys. And they called me like maybe 2 months later. So it was sitting out there. I mean, they must have had a pile or something. But I went in to Trelleborg for product engineering, and they interviewed me basically for my life science skills. They wanted to maybe increase the market of life sciences here. We have a little bit here, but we're more oil and gas and aerospace, but they wanted to kind of increase the life science. So I think that's pretty much what they liked. And then they also knew Jack Flippo.
Oh,
So there's a girl here that I worked with that went to tech. That's one of the engineers, and she knew what Jack Flippo puts you through, as in like designing CAD or NX designing. And so I think that actually really helped a lot because I already knew how to do NX designs, and I was pretty far ahead to what they do here. Because I mean, for any engineers that don't know, like Jack makes you constrain a lot of stuff, and they don't do that here. And they were very surprised I knew how to do that. So
okay.
that was like, it was a good little plus. So I got that job. I worked there designing seals. So I moved into the industrial engineering section of things. Um, so I designed specialized seals for any type of company. Like we're huge in Boeing. We have a lot of products in the Boeing airplanes. We have products in John Deere. We have products in like CAT industrial like equipment. Um, I mean anything that's like a big company. We usually have something in. Like we go all the way down to like the Ferrari and McLaren F1 teams. Like
Okay.
they've contacted us. It's very specialized, high quality seals. So I was designing customs of those. Um, Basically, just customer comes in with the requirements that they need this seal. We help them pick what seal they need, help them design, like have like whatever dimensions the seal needs to have, and then we'll design it on NX and send it back to the customer. They'll review the blueprints that we send them, and if they like it, they'll accept it, and hopefully it leads to a quote, and then we can make it. Um, so I was kind of on the front end of stuff there. And then about, um, maybe 2 years, maybe it was a year and a half, I can't remember exactly. They came to me and asked if I wanted to move departments and come over to production database engineering. The reason being, there was a 41-year guy there. He's basically worked there all of his life, and it was all tribal knowledge, which means all the knowledge that, yep, it was all in the head. They didn't know what he did. They were like, there's no work instructions. They just know he's been there forever. He does what he does, and it makes everything work. But they know that his time was coming. So since I already knew the products and I already knew how to read the customer prints, I knew how to read engineering prints that we make here. They thought that like that's kind of like a little fast forward. They don't have to train me on that stuff. So I decided just to go ahead and take it. You know, why not move around, get
Challenge.
more
Mm-hmm.
experience?
Yeah.
So I guess that'd still be considered industrial engineering, but it's more data driven than it is designing. So I changed over to where I have to look at drawings and be able to figure out if production can make the part now. So you can't just send in any print and expect us to make it. I mean, it has to be something that's doable. So now I look at prints and I make sure that our production can make them. And then I input all that data into a system we have. So I pretty much I build the production, like I basically build the production of the part, and when it gets printed off out on the floor, they know what they need to do. They have the print, they have the notes, they know how to make the part basically. So that's
Cool.
what I do now. And then, like I said, that guy who was going to retire, with all this COVID stuff going around, a lot of the older ones decided to like retire. So he is actually retiring tomorrow. And so then I've been here in this spot for about I think a little over a year.
Okay.
And I've learned as much as I can from a guy who has a lot of knowledge, and trying to put it, they wanted me to streamline the process.
Uh-huh.
He's old school, so he has his pen and paper, and then I come in and I have Excel knowledge, so I pretty much anything that he writes on pen and paper, I can put in Excel and get out a lot quicker than like calculating and all that stuff. So they also want me to streamline the process, because literally any requests that come in for production to make a part, it has to go through me, and then I release it to production. So I I feel I have a pretty important job, because
Yes.
if I mess up, it goes out to production. They may not know it's wrong, and they'll send it out to the customer wrong, and then it comes back, and it's like the customer is like, "This is wrong," like, and they come back at us,
Mhm.
and there's either a corrective action or something that has to happen. But so I just have to be really careful with what I do now. But uh, yeah, I mean that's where I'm sitting with my other engineering careers.
That's awesome. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear from you, that many engineering students want to hear. I was so happy to be able to connect with you on LinkedIn also.
Mm-hmm.
Try to stress to our students how very valuable that is and how important that is to advancing their career, even getting that first start. Um, so I was happy to hear that that's how you got on there.
Yeah,
Um,
that was yeah. It was you have LinkedIn. You guys basically make us make a LinkedIn,
yes.
and I'm just like, I mean, you just download the app, and as I was switching jobs, I would just update LinkedIn on what kind of knowledge I have, and as I go, I just put in a little bit more or leave off like stuff that's not as important and put on the important stuff that I just learned, and continuously just update it like a resume. Because
Absolutely.
I mean, if you ever were to lose your resume, you can just go to LinkedIn, print off what you do for your job, basically. So.
Absolutely. And we find, I can't think of the statistic off the top of my head right now, but we find, 2 years ago, employers went to Facebook first,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
now they go to LinkedIn first.
Yeah.
So they want to see if you are basically a grown up, and that you're
Mhm.
trying to work your network and your connections, and that you're serious
Yeah.
about your career. So that's a great plus for that. Now, were you a biomed major then?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yes.
I still have a biomedical engineering degree,
Yep.
um, but yeah, like I said, I'm not anywhere near biomedical.
Yeah.
But I mean, not saying if I were to outgrow this job and I want to like kind of do something else, I would probably try to go back. I really liked R&D testing. That was fun. Like you get
Mhm.
results and everything. So I would probably try to go back and see if I can, because I did make network connections with everybody at Depew. So I do have people in mind that I would ask and see, hey, if there's ever an opening, let me know and I want to apply
Mhm.
and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the more you network inside your job, there might be connections to go back if you were to move for some reason. But yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to stress that so much. But I was just really wanted our engineering students, and even students, prospective students that are thinking about engineering, that you're a great example of the quality education you get here, but
Hmm.
it's also broad enough to branch into other aspects of engineering.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful that you could be here to share that with us. Do you have any other little warrior words of wisdoms, any tips?
See, um,
How about for new grads right now? What would be your number one
I
tip?
would, I would definitely say trying to apply for, well, new grads would be job, but like before you graduate, probably try to get an internship or a co-op.
Absolutely.
It does really help. It is hard. I mean, you're competing with all the other undergrads, but then again, I guess with a new grad, don't like, I guess biomedical, I have friends that don't necessarily work in biomedical that have biomedical degrees. You can pretty much apply for any mechanical degree. And like I said, I just applied to this job and it's industrial, but they're like, they saw a need at the time. They saw a need like, hey, he has life science background, biomedical background. He may be able to help us with like FDA stuff because we do have seals that we put in like medical devices and they have to be FDA approved and stuff. So I have a little bit of that background as well. So, I mean, if you're going to graduate, just start applying to any field that, and what I also find is when I'm trying to apply, their job descriptions may sound really intimidating. You're like, oh my gosh, can I do that? Is that something I can do? I mean, I've kind of learned, I mean, just apply when they interview, like tell them what you have and then see what happens. But that is very intimidating because I've done that. Like I look at job descriptions and I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. And it's like, oh, I know how to do one thing that they want you to know. But when you come to the interview, I think they probably also base it off you as a person and what you're able to learn while you're there.
Agree. I agree. Yep.
It basically, if you're gonna graduate, just start applying. I mean, see what interviews you can get. The more interviews, the better experience you have with like what you want to talk about when you first go in. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. Thank you, Daniel. I'm also going to share this with the Faculty of Engineering, send them to our YouTube page so they can see you again and be proud of what you've done and how you are stayed in Fort Wayne, which is awesome. We love that for engineers to stay in Fort Wayne. Luckily, we are a big engineering city. So we have lots of good, solid quality jobs for our engineers. So,
yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. I guess no. I mean, if they have questions, I guess they can reach out on LinkedIn. I don't know.
That's what I was going to ask. If it would be okay if students, contacted me if I'm okay to link you to them.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and I think I still have I have students that somehow have figured out, I guess, who I am, and I graduated, but I have ones that are still at Tech, and they add me, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't really deny anybody. So
perfect. We teach them to go and find alums that are in their degree, and maybe they can pull some information from them. So good. I will definitely do that, and I'm sure I'll have students reach out. So thank you so much for being here, Daniel.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. Go Warriors.
Go Warriors.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.